Welcome to Reviews and Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you?
I am doing well. Thank you very much.
Good, good.
We are officially on to our third episode in the month of August, aka Around the World in 4 Horror Movies, aka International Movie Month. And boy, do we have an intense one to talk about today. But before we do that, what do you say we chat a little bit about some horror news? Blairski, you want to kick this one off?
All mine has to do with horror video games. So the Phasmophobia big update was today. It's still not out on console yet. We will play soon enough, though, Jesse. We will.
I can't wait.
I played a little earlier with my brother.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. Not too
the updates,
much.
They're noticeable, big updates?
Well, nothing like there's no new levels. Everything's pretty much the same, just all the equipment's different.
Cool.
It's all different and it all has kind of different meanings. So it's taken a little bit to get used to everything again.
Right.
And everyone who was playing before is automatically starting back at zero.
Yeah, you were saying they were almost doing like they were hitting the refresh button or something. And I wonder if that's in anticipation of the console release later this month.
It 100% is. Even in the menu on game, there's the option for cross-platform now.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. That's good. That's better than nothing, right?
So yeah, that was out today. Next big piece of news. Well, last night, AEW held the very first ever Texas Chainsaw match with Jeff Hardy versus Jeff Jarrett.
Double J.
Now, I asked you already. You said you did not watch the match.
I did go on and watch the match later on today. I did.
Oh, did you? Like in complete, you watched the full match?
I watched the full match.
Okay,
yes.
right on. I only saw highlights, so I haven't seen the full match, but it looked pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of blood and tables and meat hammers and guitars and of course a big entrance towards the end of the match, a nice little surprise guest appearance.
Yeah,
by Leatherface himself.
That's what I saw. He comes out just swinging the chainsaw around. And then I noticed at the very end, he's chasing, I didn't even catch which girl it was, but he's chasing after a girl running up the ramp out of there.
I believe it was Jeff Jarrett's wife.
So
it was very over the top. As wrestling is. I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm fine with saying that it is very over the top.
And of course, all big promotion for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game, which drops tomorrow morning, man.
One kind of final big push before this game comes out. There's obviously been some reviews that have come out already, so this was kind of their last big media push before, like you said, the big launch tomorrow. Big day,
wait, man.
Christmas Eve.
I work
Christmas
tomorrow,
Eve.
Yeah, after work, I know what I'm going to be doing. That's for sure.
Good man. And you said you had one more game announcement or one more bit to do with
that was it.
Oh, that was
it. My third one was the wrestling match, the AEW match.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I've got a couple pieces here. Actually, just the one, because I also had AEW. So my one piece of horror news, the newest addition to the VHS franchise.
Okay.
Will have its world premiere next month at Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, and will be called VHS 85.
So we've had 99.
Yep.
And what was the other one? 84?
So this is going to be the 6th installment in the VHS series.
Right.
There's been VHS, VHS 2, VHS Viral.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe there was an 84. I think there was there a 90?
It might have been 94 and then 99.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Okay. And now 85. So, and they've promised that it will be a lot of grit and a lot of grime.
I like all of them. I mean, some are better than others, but I always have a good watch when I watch those movies.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun thing with an anthology. I guess an anthology series or an anthology movie is if there's 8 different short films, one of them is bound to be good, you know? And on that note, hail Ratma.
Hail Ratma.
Let's dive right into this week's episode. Like we were saying, our third installment in the month of August, aka Around the World in 4 Horror Movies. We will be reviewing 2010's I Saw the Devil. Runtime on this one, 2 hours, 24 minutes, a little bit out of the sweet spot. Blairski, initial thoughts on the runtime?
We'll get into it.
Yeah,
we'll get into it. It's a little long, though. It is a little
Yes, we will. We'll do likes and dislikes on that one. So let's jump right into fun facts. Do you have anything for this one?
Just one. So 7 cuts were made for this movie to get the rating that would allow a theatrical release.
Yeah.
But even though 7 cuts were made, only 80 to 90 seconds of runtime was actually cut.
It kind of makes you curious what they cut, especially in a movie like this that is, and we'll get into it, very...
It's brutal, man.
It walks a very fine line.
Yeah, it's a very graphic movie as it is. So yeah, I'm curious what 80 to 90 seconds of footage we're missing out on. But that's not that much footage. So we're seeing, for the most part, the movie the way it was meant to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently, there's like a Korean release and an international release. And I think the international one is maybe a bit longer.
Okay.
So for all I know, perhaps the international release has those 80 seconds, 90 seconds included. I don't know. But I've got a fun fact here. I Saw the Devil had 2 different working titles. The first one being Night of the Subtropical Zones.
Okay.
I don't really get that one. And then the second one being The Hunter.
I get The Hunter. I don't get that first one at all.
Agreed. I think we can also agree that they settled on the best possible name.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in likes and dislikes. I want to talk about the title a little bit. But before we do that, let's keep moving along and let's talk about the fine people who worked on this film. I am going to butcher some names here and I apologize. It is not intentional, but my Korean is not great. So starting off, directed by Ji-woon Kim, also directed 2003's A Tale of Two Sisters and 2008's The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. Written by Park Hoon-jung, also wrote 2015's The Tiger, 2023's New World, and 2017's VIP. This one also written by Ji-woon Kim, who also wrote 2005's A Bittersweet Life, 2009's The Uninvited, and 2016's The Age of Shadows. Blairski, have you seen any of those films?
No, sir. Have you?
Neither have I, no, but while searching, I was looking at the posters for a lot of them, and they look pretty excellent.
South Korean movies are awesome, man.
Yeah, agreed. This one's starring Lee Byung-hun as Soo Hyun. Also starred in 2009's G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Okay.
2013's Red 2. 2016's The Magnificent Seven. And in 6 episodes of the smash hit Netflix show Squid Game. Did you watch Squid Game?
I started watching. I think I've seen maybe the first 2 episodes. I thought it was good. It was interesting, but I couldn't get into it.
It took the world by storm.
Yeah.
People went crazy over it. And then also, I just have 2 starrings. It was, although performances from everyone in this movie were fantastic, there were really 2 powerhouses that drove this film.
Yeah.
This one also starring Cho Min-sik as Young Kwon-chul, also starred in 2014's Lucy, 16 episodes of the TV show Big Bet, and in 2003's badass film Old Boy, which has arguably one of the coolest fight scenes in cinema history.
Don't think I've seen it.
So cool. Highly recommended. Old Boy, another great Korean film. Moving right along, synopsis for 2010's I Saw the Devil, courtesy of our good friends at IMDb. A secret agent exacts revenge on a serial killer through a series of capture and release. Yeah.
Exactly what happens.
Pretty much indeed. Yeah. This leads to one of our first segments of the night, which is Kill Count.
Kill count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, you got a kill count for this one?
Yeah, well, this movie's an absolute mess. This movie's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
But we have a total kill count of 12. Now, that is
Okay.
including the unborn child at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's also including, which we'll talk about coming up here, but that random body in the back of the taxi.
Yeah.
We don't even know where that's from. 12 total kills in this movie, though. I think 7 of them were done by the serial killer.
And I think this is a great segue, as we often do, right into likes and dislikes. Obviously, the portion of the show where we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. Holy, can we talk about
Right?
the kills in this one?
They were so brutal, man. They were so brutal.
Not even the kills themselves, but just the violence in any capacity is just it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where it's not one bludgeon to the head or one stab to the neck. It's 20 to 30 stabs to the neck. It's half a dozen bashes to the back of the head. It's brutal, man.
And it's not happening off camera.
No.
It is happening right there, close up, in your face. Which, I mean, this movie, I don't think you're supposed to feel comfortable watching this movie.
No, not at all.
It's a very uncomfortable film with very uncomfortable characters who make you uncomfortable.
And it makes this movie makes it feel like it's very realistic.
Super realistic. Yeah. I remember I told you before you had watched it for the first time that to me, this was the most intense movie about a serial killer I had ever seen. And I still hold that true.
Yeah, and I agree. After seeing it, I totally agree. It is brutal. Just absolutely, it's hard to even explain.
It really is. It's hard to. It really is. We will try our best. So, for those of you who haven't listened to our podcast before, Blairski and I, we're big fans of intros. We love intros on this show. I just want to comment and say that this is one of the most terrifying and unsettling intros I've ever seen in any movie. It is just filled to the brim with pure terror and violence. And it is from basically the scene of the attack in the car to the discovery of the severed head. Spoiler alert. It is just pure like, wait a minute. This has happened all in the span of 5 minutes, and I have just about 2.5 hours still to go.
And between the scene in the car and the scene where they find the head, that is when you just see the name to the movie.
Yeah.
Like this is all before even they show the title of the movie. It's fucking nuts, man. And the way he's staring at her in the car.
Yeah.
When she basically tells him to go away, she's waiting for AMA or whatever, the tow truck.
Yeah.
And the way he's just staring at her.
Yeah.
Fucking creepy, man.
You just know right away that something, I mean, you can tell by the name of the movie that something off is gonna happen. But just you right away I felt anxious right away. And I had seen it before. But it was, like something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, you can tell he has bad intentions, like right away.
100%. I loved the visuals in this scene, just the outside. It was so, there was nothing else out there.
It's secluded.
Yeah, it totally just builds the intensity. It reminded me kind of the fears of like a Texas Chainsaw, where they are screwed. There is nothing out there, and they're, they are not in a good situation.
Can we talk about that scene where they find the head and why there is so many fucking people there? It was such a chaotic scene, man.
There was a lot going on, and this I have a line of the night that I'll mention later on in the show that comes right from this scene that really just it grabs you by the shirt and just shakes you, and it's like, oh my god, this is this is wild. This is wild. But it's just, yeah, like you said, that whole scene with the search party and the discovery of the severed head is just complete and utter chaos. And then when they find the head, it's just
the one guy has it. He's got it in like a shoebox and he's running and he trips. And the fucking head just starts rolling in front of everybody. Out. Oh my God.
I was thinking about this, and it's like, you think somebody who's in that profession, you know, whether it be, you know, CSI or a cop or a firefighter or a paramedic or an ER doctor or ER nurse, you think they've seen it all. And you think that they're completely, you know, they're completely numb to everything that they see. But I kind of like it in this scene where, you know, they find this horrific thing that they've been looking for, this terrible act, and they're freaking out. You know, they see it and it's not like, oh, I found it. It's they don't know what to do. Like they're vomiting panic. And it's like, this is to me, this would be, and I'm, you know, I'm not a bravest person, but that would be my reaction is I would be freaking out, vomiting everywhere. You know, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. And it seems like in that scene, nobody knew what to do. And
we're still talking only 5-10 minutes into the movie.
and it just like it, this, yeah, it's wild. And while you mentioned the 5-10 minutes, let's talk quickly about the runtime.
Yeah.
So it is lengthwise. I mean, it's a lengthy one.
Yeah.
And we often comment about kind of the sweet spot being about an hour and a half to hour and 45.
Yes.
What did you think about this one? 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Okay. So I felt it was a little long. I feel like they could have, to be honest with you, they could have probably ended the movie at like the hour 40 mark.
Okay.
When, like they could have because he had basically he could have killed the serial killer at any point.
Yeah,
he could have. He kept playing the cat and mouse game.
Yeah,
which, man, if he wasn't playing the cat and mouse game, he would have saved so many others' lives.
Well, and that's what I was thinking too. And it's like, don't push your luck. You know, there's so many people in this movie trying to play God, or I guess trying to play, you know, the devil, the opposite of the God. They're trying to have all this power and they're in control, whether it be the serial killer, whether it be the special investigator. They're all trying to be in control, you know, for good or for bad. And they both take it too far.
Yeah. Well, they,
you know,
really
they both take it just, well, in some cases, they both take it very far. But yeah, I agree. It maybe could have, you know, and obviously you have that term where, oh shoot, I did go too far and now I'm screwed and now I don't know where he is, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it could have been shorter. At the same time, I wasn't bored at any point.
Yeah. How could you be?
Yeah, like I was not bored at any point, but there is many times they could have, you know,
there's a couple solid endings.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like you said too, it's not a boring movie. I feel like in every single scene, there is something happening to keep your attention.
Mm-hmm. There's
something to look at, whether you want to or not. There's something to hear, whether you want to hear it or not. You know, there's a lot going on in this one.
There is. As I find this movie, it's like part serial killer slasher movie.
Yeah.
It's part revenge movie.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And probably a little bit of like torture porn, just like, you know, like a Saw, right?
Yeah. It's everything. It's a train wreck that you can't, you have to watch. A train wreck in the sense of it's this horrible, terrifying thing that you don't want to watch, but it keeps your interest up. Can we talk about, I mentioned the two actors kind of, you know, taking the helm of this one, but the acting in this movie was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was superb. It's really good. It was
so good. There was just, especially early on in the movie, there was so much grief and heartbreak with the fiance and the father of the murdered woman. There is so much grief, and it is so well, like your heart is breaking for these two characters, and they are just so effortless with it, but you just see how much pain they're in. And
The
then
serial killer.
I was
He
going to
was my
say
favorite, man.
on the complete other hand,
Yeah.
it's just he's pure evil.
Yeah.
It's a man who shows zero remorse for anyone. And it's all about him.
Yeah. You can tell just by looking at him. That's how good the acting is. You can tell that just by looking at him.
You can see it in his eyes. Like
Yeah.
he's pure evil. A good example of this character and how messed up this character is, again, within the first 5 minutes, he's dismembering this body, and he has a steeping cup of tea right beside the body.
Yeah.
It's
just another day for him.
There's nothing there.
No.
There's nothing there. He's just going about his business, you know? He's doing what he needs to do. But it's just like, how is this person? This is the devil, you know?
His MO is clearly decapitation. Hey, like every victim, he seems to decapitate them.
Yeah.
That must be his MO.
And he's got the makeshift guillotine in his his torture chamber as well, which, you know, makes quite the entrance at the end.
Yes. Yes, it would. It does indeed.
Goodness gracious.
I love that. Can we talk about the end quickly?
Absolutely.
Skipping too far.
No, I think we should.
I love how he finally gets his in his own torture chamber with his own guillotine.
Yeah.
And kind of accidentally on purpose, because it's all a trap, but by his own family.
Yeah, and there's some really tragic scenes with his family earlier on where his mother still has a shred of hope for him. And his father has completely given up on him.
Yeah.
And his son
he just doesn't know him.
He doesn't know him. Yeah. He's just not there for him. And then the full circle with, obviously, the family having some kind of hand in his demise, you know, directly or indirectly. That ending is it's so weird. You see grief in two different ways. You see grief, you know, for the family of the victims at the beginning of the movie, and then you see the grief of the family of this horrible, evil person, if you can call him that, at the end. You know, it's still somebody's kid.
Yeah, and
every group is just hysterical.
Yeah, they're bawling.
They're hysterical. Yeah. That ending, holy, the makeup and the practical effects in this movie.
Yay for practical effects, man.
We love it. We talk about it. Either we're really happy about it one episode and we hate how much CGI was used in the next. This movie, especially for the serial killer, it seemed like every single scene he had a new scratch on his face. Yeah. Or he, you know, like he had a new piece of blood on him. It was so good.
It was so good. Do you have a favorite kill in this movie? Or a favorite scene?
I do have a favorite scene in this movie.
Okay. What is that?
My favorite scene is when the serial killer is picked up by the cab. And I don't really...
That's my favorite scene too, man.
And I maybe missed it. And maybe you can explain it to me, because maybe you figured it out. I was really confused with who the other gentleman was in the back of the car, not in the trunk, because there is somebody in the trunk. The guy in the back seat. Was he just another passenger? Because he also looked really suspicious and he had a weapon on him.
You know, okay, so they didn't really explain it, but my thought is the cab driver and the guy in the back seat were hunting. They were also serial killers, and they were out on the prowl hunting, trying to find someone looking for a taxi in the middle of nowhere.
And the guy in the trunk was the cab driver.
Well, he was either the cab driver and they took the car, or he was just their first victim from earlier in the night, one or the other, right?
I love that. Yeah. I thought there was something a little bit suspicious about the passenger to the back, but the cab driver was a bit weird, but I never really, you know, thought about that. But I kind of like that, you know.
I think they were working together for sure, man. But it
now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
He destroyed both of them.
That scene also, we'll talk about it later, but another one of my line of the nights comes from that scene.
Okay.
But that much scene there, in that scene, there is so much carnage.
Oh, it's brutal. So brutal. There's probably 50, 60 stabs in that
It's so
scene.
weird because everything happens so fast, but the scene goes on and on and on. Like both the cab driver and the passenger in the back, they must have each gotten stabbed. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to make an educated guess. A
No.
lot.
Yeah,
They were
a
both
lot.
stabbed a lot.
And they were all like stabs in the neck. Like they're just brutal stabs, man.
The use of blood in that scene
Yeah.
was just,
It was
I mean,
splatting. It was spraying, like splattering everywhere.
everywhere.
Loved it.
And it all looked like it was one continuous shot.
Yeah.
Like there was no, okay, now we're going to do this angle. It looked like it was almost moving in a circle. It was wild.
It's crazy that cab didn't crash way earlier.
Yeah, very good point. Or that the crash wasn't more severe.
Yeah,
like it
right.
seemed he was able to drive the car away.
Love that scene. That is also my favorite scene for sure.
That scene just shows like pure violence that is completely unnecessary. The cab driver just rubbed him the wrong way and he was over it. He was done talking to him and done having him on the earth.
Oh man, as far as the killer is concerned, everyone's doing him wrong. The whole world is out to get him.
The scene with the doctor, the same thing. So I'm not your son. Don't call me son. And he really took offense to that.
Yeah,
you know?
He's like, watch how the fuck you talk to people.
Yeah. So there's another scene in the doctor's office, another violent scene with the slicing of the Achilles tendon.
Oh yeah, I've got that written down, man.
How gross was that?
Probably the hardest. I mean, there's a lot of hard scenes to watch in this movie.
Yeah.
But for me personally, that was one of the harder scenes to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It was brutal, just,
man.
Again, the practical effects and the makeup in this were fantastic.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, the whole point of the movie is these acts of violence are not supposed to be quick.
No. It's torturing them.
Yeah, both the protagonist and the antagonist, they both want to take their sweet time. They both want to torture and inflict as much pain for as long as necessary.
Yeah.
You know? It's wild. Oh my god. That Achilles tendon though. Ugh. I thought this movie had quite a few good fight scenes.
There was
just like
good
solid, just like hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, there was some good fight scenes.
One I'm thinking in particular, I think it was the first fight scene. It happens in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So apparently, and I read this, but apparently the serial killer, whenever he doesn't have a weapon in his hand, he gets beaten up very, very badly. But every scene where he has some kind of weapon, he does some kind of damage.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, there was a lot of chaos in this movie. That could be true.
It seems he's also always trying to look for his weapon. He's always like reaching around. He's like, where did I put it?
He's kind of, a little unorganized.
Yeah, very unorganized.
Yeah.
That's great though.
We often talk about the music in the movies that we review. What did you think about the music in this one?
Yeah, it's not anything I really noticed too much, but at the same time, it didn't take anything away. So.
Yeah. I thought the beginning, the music, especially in the scene with the search party at the beginning, it felt very soap opera-y.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't mix with the movie at all. At the beginning credits, it sounded like there was almost like a flamenco, like Spanish guitar playing, which I didn't feel
notice that
worked at all. But at the end of the movie, I thought the very last scene where the antagonist is walking away and he's crying, that music fit perfectly.
Yeah.
So well.
Yeah, I didn't notice either way. So
yeah. This movie is not for the faint of heart.
It's definitely not. No.
Oh god. So there is one scene in this movie that I actually laughed.
Okay.
So there's a scene, spoiler alert, there's not only one serial killer in this movie, there is two serial killers in this movie. And there's a scene where the second serial killer has their hand pinned down to a table with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And this screwdriver is not budging, and he is doing everything in his power to pry this screwdriver free. And he's trying, and the handle pops off.
He pops off the handle. I've got that written down as well.
I actually laughed because it was so intense, and then it was like, oh, okay, I can breathe for a second. It was just so funny. And you have this metal tang sticking out of his hand, and he's just holding this handle, and he's like, well, what do I do? Oh,
Fuck, he deserves it, man. That guy was a cannibal.
He was a cannibal. And there's this whole dinner scene where the tension is so high. And he basically mentions that once you've had human meat before,
there's no going back.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like it. We'll take his word for it.
Yeah.
The script was great.
Yeah.
I love the script. Man. There was so much anger, so much sadness in these characters. I loved it. What do you say we move right along?
Yeah, sure, man. I've said everything I've got written down anyway.
Perfect. This leads us to one of our favorite segments of the show. Lessons we learned from watching 2010's I Saw the Devil.
Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here.
The segment of the show where we talk about the valuable life lessons we learned from watching said movie. Blairski, did you learn anything from I Saw the Devil?
I got a couple of things written down. One is do not fall asleep on the bus.
Yeah.
City bus or school bus in this case. You just never know where you might wake up. So don't fall asleep on the bus.
Yeah.
Second to go along with that is never hitch a ride with a stranger, especially if they're very persistent on trying to get you into their vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Good ones.
Like, if they're practically begging to give you a ride, that's probably not a good sign.
They have bad intentions.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, God. I've got a couple here. Yeah, don't play cat and mouse games with a serial killer.
Yeah, don't
you
do
will
that.
only upset them, and who wants to upset a serial killer? I also have being the third wheel at a dinner with a serial killer, with two serial killers, one of them being a cannibal, can be awkward and very unsettling. And then finally, you can apparently take 1 million hard blows to the head and still survive. So many people get hit in the head in this movie.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, goodness. This leads to one of our favorite segments of the show, Line of the Night.
Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills. They might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorites. Blairski, do you have a couple lines here?
All right. So in the South Korean version of Hannibal the Cannibal says, I got to go prepare my next meal. And then he literally pulls a girl that's still alive and he has her tied up down in the basement and starts preparing her for his next meal.
So he sorts through his deep freeze first.
Yeah, first, yeah.
Doesn't find anything that he likes because it's just legs and arms, and he's not feeling like,
He wants the guts.
He doesn't want to limb. Wild. You got anything else?
Yeah, so in the serial killer, he says, strip before I cut off your face, bitch. He says that to one of his victims just before attempting to rape her.
It's a terribly
brutal scene, man.
Terribly tough scene to watch. Yeah, that was a tough one.
The next one is a little more on the lighter side. One of the police officers says, some bastard hammered his balls.
Yeah.
And that's when they're interrogating Kim So's first victim of people he expects could be the serial killer. They're interviewing him in the hospital, and Kim So has hammered his balls.
Again, another scene that takes place within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Very quick.
Anything else?
That's all I've got for lines of the night.
I've got a couple here. The serial killer says, "Your skin is so soft. It looks like it'll be easy." Ugh,
Mhm.
tough. A police officer to a group of reporters after the discovery of the victim's head. They're all taking pictures, and he says, "Stop taking pictures. You call yourselves human." And it was just like, holy, it just kind of put the whole scenario into perspective. You know, it's like, take a minute and
Nuts.
think where you are. Like, be a human. This is somebody's kid. Huh. The serial killer, after he gets beat up in the greenhouse and wakes up with an envelope of cash, he said, "What the hell? This bastard's a complete psycho."
I didn't get that. I didn't get why he left him cash. Maybe just to fuck with him.
I honestly think that the whole cat and mouse thing was just to mess with him.
Yeah.
But I love that the serial killer calling the cop a complete psycho. I love that. The serial killer again in the cab to the cab driver. He says, "You said we're all lucky, right?" The cab driver says, "Yeah, I did. So?" To which the serial killer says, "The way I see it, I think you're damn unlucky." Bam. Carnage ensues.
Yeah.
What a great line to lead into, obviously, our favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah. It was so good, man. I loved it.
And then finally, I've got one more here. The serial killer says, "Pain, I don't know what that is. Fear, don't know that either." Great line.
Yeah. Awesome.
Really
line.
great bit of, yeah, really great. This leads to our final segment of the night, our favorite segment of the night, which is Celebrity Lookalike Time.
Celebrity lookalike time.
The time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. A spoiler alert, it usually comes down to the character's hairstyle. Blairski, celebrity lookalike time, have any?
Just one for this movie. Kim
Okay.
So I run. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Bang on.
The special agent, the badass special agent in this movie. He reminded me of action movie star and mixed martial artist Jet Li.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
They just had a lot of similarities in the look and their fighting style as well.
100%. I've got two here.
Okay.
The character, same character, So Hyun, while wearing his puffy jacket, reminded me of George Costanza wearing his Gore-Tex jacket, the puffy coat.
Yeah.
It's maybe not as puffy, but I immediately thought, hey, that's George. And then finally, the serial killer reminded me of Judd Nelson from The Breakfast Club. It was the long flowing hair and the plaid shirt at the dinner party. Oh, God.
Fuck.
He was going to be stuck in detention on a Saturday. This leads to our final rating for 2010's I Saw the Devil. Blairski, out of 5 tiresome hours waiting for AMA to come and replace your flat tire on a cold winter's night, whilst trying to avoid being brutally murdered, what do you give I Saw the Devil?
I'm going to give I Saw the Devil 4.5 tiresome hours waiting for AMA to come and replace your flat tire on a cold winter's night whilst trying to avoid being brutally murdered out of 5.
Excellent. I am going to ditto that rating and give it a 4.5 tiresome hours waiting for AMA to come and replace your flat tire on a cold winter's night whilst trying to avoid being brutally murdered out of 5. This movie is a lot.
Yeah.
If you are not a fan of, I don't even know. This movie's intense. This movie is intense and is not for everyone. Definitely not for everyone.
It's very gory.
But we loved it.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's a long watch, but it's well worth the 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Yeah, it is long, but I was, as I said earlier, was not bored at all at any point.
Yeah.
So
agreed. But from Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair, I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
And eat every sandwich.
Is that a question?
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Reviews That Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/reviewsatScare. That's linktr.ee/reviewsatScare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsatscare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of the Planet X Network.